when you break down Rick Chow's case, it's 30 seconds.
Right.
A guy was pointing a gun at my son.
Quick.
I thought he was going to kill him, so I shot him. That's his case.
Right.
I mean, it's
not complicated.
It's not complicated, and turn down all the other noise, like a drum line, one band, one sound. Turn down the noise. You got one thing going on, and that's what I wanted them to hear, and it worked.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Practical Law Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Pracht. Practical Law Podcast is here to bring you real insights into practicing law and for the community at large. Today, we have a super guest, and when I mean that, we have Superman Shaun Kent here, and I'm very excited about this episode. So let's just get to it. Shaun, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it more than you realize.
It really was you who got in touch with Damon over here and said, hey, man, now is the time to strike. That is true because you are probably like the hottest name in the law right now.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad name, but yes, it's
you're the one going through it. Tell me about it, man. What's it been like?
It has been, of course, luckily Damon and I have been friends for 2+ decades. One of my dearest buddies. We've been talking about doing this for a minute, and it just seemed to work out in between the death threats and the pats on the back. I didn't know which one was going to be more likely to be beneficial for a podcast, so we said let's just talk about them.
Talk about all of it, man. Right? For those of you that don't know at home, we're talking about the Rick Chow murder case that you just tried. Successfully tried.
Depends on who you talk to.
Right. You got a not guilty verdict.
There you
right?
go. That might sound better. Yeah.
Verdict. So, I want to talk about that, but before we get there, I want to just have the people get to know you a little bit because I think your story is a remarkable one. So, tell me, because you're going to tell it better than I could, how you became to be a trial lawyer.
Believe it or not, it's what I've always wanted to do. And people say that, but that's what I've always wanted. There's no lawyers in our family. My dad is borderline insane. Mama's a Baptist minister. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I don't want to say something ridiculous like it's been in my blood or DNA. It's just not. But
right.
I have little letters that I sent to my parents from like the 4th and 5th grade saying I wanted to go to the University of Virginia and go to law school. I don't even know why I thought about the University of Virginia, and I didn't get into the University of Virginia. So that was weird. But grew up, we didn't have a lot. Put myself through college, played soccer, Carolina, played USC Aiken, played ball there. Went off to law school in Michigan. Paid student loans like everybody else, busted my tail. Believe it or not, I started in a small law firm, left there, was a public defender, did the public defender work. I taught criminal law and political science at the University of South Carolina, Aiken, in a friendship with a guy named Strom Thurmond, who people probably have heard that name, but not the old one, the son. Right. I'm not that damn old. And he sent me down to Charleston to prosecute under the late Ralph Hoisington. So I prosecuted a bunch of cases there and then chose to leave and somehow ended up in Manning, South Carolina, and been trying cases since.
Tell me about that because I was walking down the street with you earlier.
Yep.
And like you are a total local celebrity around here. I mean, everybody is like, Kent, what's up? What are we getting into today? Why Manning? How'd you arrive here?
I had zero desire to come to Manning. I have no connection to Manning. I have no family to Manning. The only time I had ever come to Manning is when I was a prosecutor. There was a mentally ill woman by the name of Wee Sun Hudson who had stabbed a little child by the name of Derbyshire in the eye at an Easter Bunny display in North Charleston, South Carolina. She had been released because she was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and she was released back to a halfway house that just happened to be in Manning, South Carolina. So I had to go visit the place in Manning, South Carolina to see where it was, and I remember leaving and saying, what an awful town. And then some 4 or 5 years later, after prosecuting, a guy by the name of Ray Chandler was watching one of my cases and was talking to my former college roommate and saying, I'd love if that guy would come work for me. It just so happened that he knew who I was.
Right.
2 and 2 came whatever. He brought his little tail down to Manning, South Carolina and asked me to come work for him. And I said, no, why the hell would I go to Manning, South Carolina? Kept asking, kept begging. The next thing you know, I was in Manning. It turned out to be the best decision of my life. Everybody always says, you want to be a big fish in a big town. But I'd rather be a big fish in a small town. It's worked out well. If you got a good light, you can do stuff wherever, Chris. So from Manning, I've tried cases now in California, Georgia, North Carolina. I've taught all over the world. I've taught in Spain, all from Manning, South Carolina. So it's worked out really, really, really well for me.
One of my favorite things about being a trial lawyer is that we get to go on these road trips and try these cases, right? I tried a case for 2 weeks in Alaska against Honeywell and in February, and that was horrible. We lost the case, and, it was just feet of snow. But it's always an adventure. And so Tell me this. So like you come to Manning and at this time you're doing, is it primarily criminal defense?
Small town practice, you do a little bit of absolutely everything. I've been paid in pies before to look at a will. And so, I mean, primarily, I think I'm known for criminal defense, but you got to keep the lights on. So we're doing small time personal injury. You're looking at wills, doing family court divorces. But my heart was always into doing criminal defense work.
Yeah. So what was really the moment? Because I mean, to me, when I first was like, damn, Shaun's a really good lawyer, is when you got that not guilty verdict in the Penson case.
Yes, that's
and because I was like, anybody who gets a not guilty verdict against the feds has done a good job. I mean, period. There's no easy wins there. So tell me about that case. And I mean, am I right to say that was a pivotal moment in your career, or was that just me?
No. What makes that really cool is the time frame, because I had just left my old law firm and had opened this law firm. And so that would have been 2012. And so I had 2 back-to-back trials when I first opened. One was a defamation case right across the street. And it was the first trial I had from opening my own, not knowing if we could keep the lights on. And we got a larger verdict in Clarendon County history. And then right after that, we had the Penson trial. And the reason I like the Penson trial more than anything is, of course, we weren't representing Jonathan Penson. We were representing Eric Robinson.
Right.
And Jonathan Penson, of course, was a former leader at South Carolina State. He, of course, had more money than he knew what to do with. I think at the time he had hired, just a cavalcade of phenomenal lawyers. Like he had gotten Brian Steele of Young Thug fame, and he's done all these amazing cases in Atlanta, and he's representing Little Dirk in Atlanta. He was on the Diddy trial, one of those representations, and he also had Jim Griffin, who's one of the great lawyers in South Carolina, and Eric Robinson's got my dumb ass sitting behind him. And so, of course, nobody knows who's this guy. And so I'll never forget when we did our closing, and I thought we had done a really good job in the closing. We had a chance to win it. I actually read Eric Robinson's verdicts first. And Eric was 28 counts and it was 28 not guilties. And I remember as it was going, he looks at me, he's like, what do we do now? And I was like, pack your shit, let's go. And so this is still why they're reading Jonathan Penson's. And of course, he's got 28 guilties. Guilty. He's like, should I wait around and say something? And I was behind, I'm out.
Like, we're gone, man.
I'm not waiting. I'm not sitting around to talk to you. And so it was that moment, I think, where people, state level, I think you're right. That's the one that I think let the world know I could try a case. I could do a decent job.
No,
just a pan.
That was and again, I think I knew who you were at that point, but that was the time I really was just like, wow, that's an accomplishment, and so tell me this, if we're talking to younger lawyers or the next generation lawyers, or even our old lawyers like us, right? Tell about how you developed your trial skills and your oratorical skills and just your presence in a courtroom.
And this is going to sound awful. I think young lawyers are going to have more trouble than you and I and some of the older ones because we grew up talking to each other. There's no text messages. I'm old enough to grow up when there were no cell phones. So if you ever talk to a lawyer who grew up without a cell phone, I think they're always a better lawyer because they can have communication, have conversation with each other. I talk to lawyers now and I'll text you. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And then like, I got a letter from a lawyer that had an LOL written in the letter. Like it just said, I was like, what the?
An emoji on the end,
yeah, like
right?
that's how they talk. But the older lawyers, when you talk to them, Chris, it's just like we're having to have conversations. In college, when you were talking to women, you had to actually be able to talk to a woman.
It couldn't do it wasn't Tinder.
We joked with some of these young kids yesterday, like, how did you guys break up with women back in college? Like, we just didn't see them. What do you mean, how did you break up?
Stayed away.
Joni's going to be at that party. Well, I ain't going to that party. You didn't have to worry about a text, a Facebook, a tweet, a social media.
Nothing.
You just didn't go. And if you actually wanted to talk to someone, you talked. And I think, honestly, that's how I developed storytelling, because you had to talk to people and no one does it anymore. And then from the practice of law, I tried everything. You can ask Damon, like when we were together, we tried everything. And no one does that anymore. Everybody's scared to lose. Everybody's scared to be embarrassed. Everybody's scared that a judge is going to yell at them. We tried everything to the point that I've kept a record. The Rick Chow trial was my 200th jury trial.
Wow.
I have tried 200 jury trials because we tried everything.
Sure.
And so it got to a point where you just get comfortable in front of people you don't know. And so if I was trying to give any young lawyer advice, is get comfortable with the uncomfortable. If you're black, don't be afraid to talk to white folks. If you're white, don't be afraid to talk to black people. Yeah. If you see a stranger, don't be afraid to talk to a stranger. You see a nice person in the store, just strike up a conversation. And that's what I would do. I would talk to a stump. As you mentioned, walking down the street, we're just talking to people.
Right,
and
absolutely.
And the reason you do it is because it helps you talk to juries. It's made me feel comfortable when you see 12 different people that you can almost get a read on looking at them on what they like and what they don't like, what they want to hear and what they don't want to hear. And so maybe that's where some of it came from.
I feel like, so I've got 5 lawyers that work at our firm, and I'm constantly, trying to push them into trials. And we just tried a case a couple weeks ago, but you're right about there's a fear factor there. It's the fear of failure. You've lost trials, right?
I didn't say those were 200 wins.
Right.
I mean, I would make the Hall of Fame, but I would kind of barely get in there from that record on that baseball list. But yeah,
right.
I lost.
And so, that's the thing I keep telling them, particularly in these low risk situations. You get these insurance companies that make you these just horrifically low offers.
Try it.
What do you have to lose? I always say the hardest case to try is when they offer you real money.
Real money.
You're like,
Gedney House Sr. made a comment that he turns down offers just to remind people why they make them.
Right.
Which I've always loved that quote.
That's a great quote.
And so Jack in our office is a great lawyer. Sometimes I'll sit around, I'm like, go try it. He's like, yeah, but I'm like, go try it. I don't care if you lose. I'd rather you get in there and fight. And sometimes clients want that.
Oh, man.
Just go fight for them.
You are so right about that, right?
Go say that you're going to fight for them. Like our offer, we have a very, very strong policy. When they come to me and they say, should we take this offer? They know my response is always going to be, what does the client think?
Yeah,
sure. Do they want it? Yes, take it. Right. Like, yeah, but it's about the client. It's not about you. It's like, well, he doesn't want, then try it. Let him see you fighting. If you get 0, I'd rather you get 0 and the client happy that you fought for them than you get a little bit money and they're talking about you in the streets.
Isn't that true, man? I mean, I tell my guys and girls all the time, I'm like, listen, if the first conversation, your really meaningful conversation you're having with that client is you trying to convince them to take a settlement, you are in some hot water.
You're not doing a good job.
No.
You're doing a disservice to you, disservice to the client. And we just won't. Like do you want, here's the offer. No. All right, let's try it.
Yeah. Exactly. And they like that. And it's, people won't have somebody to stand up for them, man.
Best compliments I've gotten from clients are during losses in a weird way. Like,
yeah, sure.
One of my favorite, like everybody always brags about the win. We tried a case down in Charleston and it was just a dead dog loser. We knew it was a loser. Right. We knew he was going to be convicted. I told the client he was going to be convicted. And we said to him, I was like, but we're going to fight for you tooth and nail. We kept the jury out. He did better than the plea offer, but we still will not be seeing him for quite some time.
Right.
And at the end of the trial, he hugged me and his mama hugged. He's like, nobody's ever fought for him like that. Yeah. That to me felt more than the wins because it's like he knew we're going to fight for him. And I just think lawyers don't do that anymore.
They really don't as much. What do you see out there on a more positive note? Like what's good out there in the legal profession right now when you're out there?
The best is stuff like this. Let's be honest. You're trying to make money, I'm trying to make money, but we can come together and do this for each other. Like picking up the phone, calling Damon, calling you. It's like, come on, let's do this. Yeah. That's what's cool about, especially South Carolina. It is such a big, small bar that we can call everybody. Like it's a 6 degrees of separation. Yes. If I need a lawyer in the upstate, I'm like, there's been many times. I was like, Debbie, call Chris's office. I guarantee he knows somebody involved in that case.
Oh, it's done. Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that.
100% agree. Speaking of case, I had a case in Florida. We didn't try it. We almost did, but man, I never want to litigate down there again.
No.
Miserable. It was just crazy.
You used to talk about going to different states. We tried a case in Georgia. And the 3 things that made me never want to go back to Georgia is 1, as we're doing our motions, we're getting done. I'll never forget the judge from the bench says to us, he's like, all right, we'll see you guys at the barbecue. Bring your checkbooks. I was like, what the hell does she mean bring our check? Because they're popularly elected.
Right.
And was stone serious. She's like, bring your checkbooks. I'm like, why the hell do I need to bring my check?
Right. And I got to pay the judge.
Yeah, I'm like, does anyone else see a problem with that? Like, no, they're stone serious.
You do. Yeah.
And I don't ever want to go back. Like people say what they want, but South Carolina, I will take our system over anybody else's in the United States. Anybody. All these people asking for judicial reform, try it before you start talking about how great it is. I've tried in other states and they suck.
I'm with you, man, 100%. And there's no correlation between, conduct. Are there bad judges? Sure, there are bad judges everywhere in the world. But our judges are great.
Here's the crazy part. And I'm not going to say names because some of them are still friends. But if people have problems with judges, we get rid of them. We've shown that, really sadly.
Good. Yeah, no doubt.
Like some of my dear friends have been removed from the bench because they've said, we don't want you there, and they get removed. So all this stuff about, judicial reform, I'm like, but we can get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like if you hate them that bad, there's an avenue to move the judges.
And that's happened on numerous occasions.
Occasions.
That's not like
mostly in the lower part of the state where I live. But yes, they tend to get rid of judges if they don't like them. So everybody complaining about it. I like our system. I think it's pretty good.
I do too. I think that's one of my favorite things about practicing law here in South Carolina is there is just something about this bar of it's not nearly as adversarial as some places. And
you get one or two people who are just trying to be a complete because they're playing lawyer, but for the most part, they're good people. The defense bar on the other side, for a lot of them, I sit down and talk to them. We can't agree. And we're fine afterwards.
So let's talk about brand, because we were talking about that earlier. You've got a killer brand. I mean, you just do. I mean,
just a humble guy.
Superman Shaun Kent, right? So
it came with the office. Got it from Target the other day. It was on sale.
Tell me about how you built your brand, because when I look at you, I think the first thing I know is it's authentic, right? I mean, it's loud, it's in your face, but it is who you are. And so just tell me about how you developed that, or if it's something you just came naturally or you intentionally thought about.
I am big on authenticity. I really am. I am big on, there's a famous poet that you may or may not get the reference, but there's no such thing as halfway crooks is what I like to say to people. You are either all in or you are all out. So me, I like to say that I am the same person. If you see me walking down the street talking to you some of these people will laugh. You see me in the morning, I got my do-rag on, my sweatpants and my tank top, and I'm walking up, but that's who I am.
Right.
And so my brand has always been built around that's who Shaun is. And our logo, a little bit, my last name is Kent. So half of it is the state of South Carolina, and the other hand, it's a Superman logo. And so that's just who I am. It's fun. If you walk downstairs in my office, there's a picture of me butt naked on a bull, taking the bull by the horns.
I saw that. I saw that when we walked in.
And someone says, why would you put that up? That doesn't scream professionalism. I'm like, clients see you one way. Like lawyers try their damnedest to be one way in front of the client. To get the case, they act one way, and then all of a sudden they see them in a court and they're acting different, or they're shaking hands with the prosecutor, and you got the client sitting there like, who's the guy who I hired? And I tell them from the beginning, this is me. If you don't like me, get the out. And I've told them that whole life. If you want me, this is who I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to be 24/7. And that's always been my brand is you'll see me joking. You'll see me loud. You'll see me yell. And that happened to Rick Chow case. People saw the closing argument. That's not an act. That's who I'm loud. I'm in your face. I'm going to jump up and down. We tried a case in North Carolina back, and I'll never forget the judge says, now we have decorum in our courtroom. I like everybody to be at the podium. Mr. Kent, I already know your reputation. We'll move the podium out of the way. So I'm like, because I'm not going to be behind the podium. I can't do that. I'm not going to do I like authentic lawyers. I hate the fact that so many times we get these law degrees, Chris, and lawyers act like I'm the boss and the client works for me, and it should be the complete other way around. Yes, and I tell clients, I'm like, I work for you. That's it. I mean, I'm going to be the craziest, worst employee you've ever had in your entire life. But I work for you. And so
right. At the end of the day, man, that's the deal, right? You called me for help.
You called me for help. I'm here for you. I'm going to make a bunch of money off it. And I tell them, I'm not embarrassed. We're going to make a bunch of money off of you. And I want you to do well. But this is a team collaborative effort. Yes. And so I want you to see the brand. And that's why we give them hats. We give them sweat because I want them proud of their lawyer. And I want I want the world to quit looking at us as the butt of jokes. I want the world to be proud. And I love when I see somebody wearing my hoodie or somebody's wearing my sweatshirt because they look at us a little different, that we're approachable. We're good folks. And with the advent of social media, people, if anybody knows, people are looking at lawyers completely different now. And I like it.
I think it's good too.
I like it. Yeah.
We had such a crappy brand, lawyers, for so long, right? And we've got to do things to change that. But I think it starts with the good work you do in a courtroom, right? Nobody's ashamed of their lawyer when you go kick somebody's ass in a courtroom.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they walk out of there and they're like, "That's my guy.
That's my lawyer.
Like,
that's my guy. That's the dude who I want."
That's what we got to connect with people, I think, on a broad sense.
And
that's who we are.
You and I talked about it a little bit. Like if you compare the two cases, Rick Chow and Carmelo Anthony, I think every case, if we can, should be broadcast.
Yeah.
I think the world needs to see it because I think Carmelo's lawyers are getting kicked in the teeth and no one saw anything in the trial.
Right.
Nobody saw anything. And they're getting, they were awful. They did a bad job. They did this. And I'm like, and someone asked me, how do you think they did? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't see it.
See the trial, right? So that brings us to a good point because I want to talk about the Ricky Chow trial. But before that, I want to talk about one thing that popped in my head. Ricky Chow was represented by you, Joe McCullough, and Jack Swirling, right? Tell me how you built that team. Because I'm a big believer. I like building teams for trials.
So let's go through the background that not a lot of folks know. So what ended up happening is they brought in Jack Swirling was hired first.
Okay.
So they brought in Jack, the Chow family. I don't know what ended up happening. I don't know if they were happy, unhappy. And then they brought in Joe McCullough with Jack.
Got it.
Then they fired Joe McCullough with Jack. And that's important because I do, even though it sounds sucky, I like the fact that they got fired because I like the world to know you can fire a lawyer. If you're not seeing eye to eye, and it's not that Jack Swirling to me is on the Mount Rushmore of greatest lawyers in South Carolina history. But they fired him.
Yeah.
Before they fired him, they went to Joe McCullough and they said, who is the best trial lawyer in South Carolina for this case? And Joe said, y'all need to try to get Shaun Kent involved in this specific case if you want to. So let's not hide it. Joe's not stupid. He knows I'm black, and he wanted to bring in a black lawyer, I think, in this case. He knew that, period. But he didn't say that to the Chows. So the Chow said, all right, well, they ended up firing him, and then they brought in two great lawyers, the Shealy brothers, the twin brothers.
Okay.
They brought in the Shealy brothers. The Shealy brothers handled the stand your ground hearing in a couple of motions, and then they fired the Shealy brothers. But before they fired the Shealy brothers, they said, who is a trial lawyer we need to bring in? And then they said, we need to bring in Shaun Kent. And so the Child's like, who the f*** is this Shaun Kent guy?
Right.
And of course, the Shealy brothers, of course, knowing I'm African-American, the allegations against them, they thought to bring it in. So then they fired the Shealy brothers, brought Jack and Joe back in. And then they brought Jack. And so Jack had an associate with him, who very good lawyer, Alyssa. And so they brought her back in.
Right.
And then Jack had a new associate named Curtis, and they brought him in. So they had these 4 lawyers. And so then they called me. And I was just like, y'all got too many lawyers.
I was going to say, I like building teams, but that's a football team.
I said, y'all got too many lawyers. And so I said, before we even get involved, let me go meet with Rick Chow. And I'm not going to, no privilege, Rick and I have talked about this. So I went and sat down with Rick. And to this day, one of my funniest conversations with the client is I walked into the room and I looked at Rick and he had these big eyes. He's like, you're black. And I'm like, you're Asian. And that was literally, because he didn't know. So everybody's out there, oh, he picked you because you're black. He didn't know who that. He had zero clue. He just wanted a great trial lawyer,
right?
Which I loved. I loved that concept. But everybody else knew, but he had no clue,
right?
And I said to Rick, I was just like, look, man. I remember I drove from Charleston, went to Aiken to meet with him. I got there at 8:00, and I looked at him. I looked at my watch. I was like, you got 30 seconds to tell me what happened.
Yeah.
And he started going. I'm like, no. I don't want to hear all the bullshit. Tell me your case in 30 seconds. And then in 30 seconds, he was very clear. He's like, this kid was pointing a gun at my son, and I thought he was going to kill him, so I shot him. I was like, thank you. And I got up and left.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. Like, I was like, all right, thank you. And he's like, no. I'm like, maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't. I'll be back. So then we called the medical examiner, which people don't understand. Defense lawyers should be meeting and talking to medical examiners and making sure the theory makes sense. So
sure. We
talked to the medical examiner and talked to the Shealy brothers, who were very good, who had done stuff. And what he said, that 30-second blurb, 100% fit. I'm not saying it's what happened, but it fit what the medical examiner said. It could work.
Right. It wasn't excluded.
It wasn't exclusive. That didn't happen. And so then we looked, and then I remember Joe McCullough and Alyssa got me all the discovery, and we read through it, terabytes of information. And they're like, you want to read it? I'm like, no, I just want to see the 911 tapes. They're like, that's it? I'm like, I just want to hear the 911 tapes, because they had all told me that Rick Chow and his son had called 911. And I wanted to see spontaneously what they said at that moment. And at that moment, they said the exact, their 911 tapes flowed with everything. I'm like,
right.
And right then I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
You got a story that matches.
And so you say put the team together. So then we went and met all of us lawyers, and I quit. What a lot of people don't know is I quit the team.
Really?
And people don't realize that, because we sat down with the meeting and they're like, all right, so this is what everybody's role is going to be. Like, I'm not trying to case with 5 lawyers.
Yeah.
I don't play well with others. Shaun has never played well with others. I'm like, I refuse to try a case with 5 lawyers. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Being a good lawyer is one thing, and all the song and dance is something, but I think the strength of my practical law is I'm the ultimate strategist. Like, I think I play chess, not checkers. And I remember thinking to myself, 5 lawyers look like this rich Asian dude is trying to buy his way to a verdict, and I'm not having 5 lawyers speak in front of a jury. Not having it. And I told him, I was just like, y'all want 5 lawyers? Met with his wife, Mr. Chow's wife, and she's like, no, we want you on the team. I was like, I don't give a damn what you want. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to case with 5 lawyers. And so then we agreed to 3 lawyers, myself, Jack, and Joe, brilliant lawyers. And then towards the end, I think you see it turned into 1. But towards the end, it turned very, very quickly. I told you, I don't play well with others.
I get it. And see, let me just tell you, I watched your entire closing argument. I watched part of the opening, but I did not see any of the witnesses. So I got to go do some more research on it. And
here's what made the team so great. Joe McCullough, for anybody who knows him, is brilliant. He might be one of the smartest humans I've ever been around. So putting theories together, motions together, and then we have Alyssa, who's brilliant, Kurzer, and Jack did the opening statement, and for 30 minutes he was as good at Jack swirling as I've ever seen. Like, I mean, he was Jack swirling again. It was amazing to watch, and he got some information in that should. We joke he did the best opening argument I've ever seen in my entire life.
No doubt.
He just let us. At some point in time, I'm like, Jack. Too much. Like he just went through it. And so it really was a good team in that the work quality and effort, some things the world doesn't see. Rick Chow, I would say we spent almost 50 to 100 hours prepping him to testify, and he never testified.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the people don't see that. People don't see that you put a bunch of work in for nothing to happen. Like we spent 50 to 100 hours driving back and forth, 8-9 hour days prepping him to testify, going through
every word,
going through cross-examination, going through everything, and he never testified. You talk about putting the team together. It's stuff like that I don't think young lawyers realize that you have to put in so much effort and work, and it may never come out.
Yeah.
You know, like you do a lot of civil cases.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dude, my associate Kyle, he was so mad at me because we had 3 big cases in a row that got to like the Friday before trial. All the work's done. And it was just like, they just paid the money, man.
They paid the money. Sorry, bud.
It's like, sorry, I hate it for you.
Social media has created this storm now that everybody in cartoon land believes that the case is going to trial.
Right.
And I've had a comment with somebody, I'm like, probably 5% of cases are tried.
Yeah.
And that's why there's no more trial lawyers in America, because nobody wants to. No one wants to prepare to do the work to be let down at the last moment. And they're like, I'm not going to put the work in. And what ends up happening is I think they do a disservice to their clients because they don't put the work in. And then the adjuster offers them pennies on the dollars, and we take it.
And they're scared to try the case, so they take it. Yeah.
You and I both know some really, and I'm not going to say their names out there, some really good lawyers who have gotten ridiculous settlements, and they're bragging about them. And I know they've left millions on the table.
Oh, yeah.
You understand? Like,
yeah,
I
sure.
know they have left millions.
Sure. Yeah. No, right. If I come to you and I say, hey, I just settled this case for $10 million, your initial reaction is, well, that's great. But was it a $25 million case that you just right?
And the public sees it's like, he got $10 million.
Right.
I'm like,
well, it was a $30 million case.
Yeah, exactly. They got $30 million. Yeah. And if you cannot threaten an adjuster that you will try the case, I don't think you'll ever get maximum.
No.
I don't think it's possible.
I think one of the eye-opening things for me on that was to watch the floodgates open at the end when you just aren't really responding to them almost. Like, that's my favorite move. Just totally ignore. I've sent you 3 emails regarding resolution of this case. Like, will you do me the courtesy of a response? And it's just like, no, I will not.
We had a lady, we represented a young man, actually older man, who had his arm cut off. Tractor was driving, shouldn't have been driving. One of those, they were working before dusk, trying to beat the farm trucks out, doing what they shouldn't have been doing. They don't see his car, and they run directly over his car and cut his arm off.
Oh, man.
And $6 million policy, and this lady was just like, the adjuster was just an ass.
Yeah.
And so finally she gets in, she's like, Mr. Kent, I can't see you giving you a nickel more than $3 million, because if you're going to try this case, I can promise you I'm going to be able to get 3 or 4 farmers on my jury. And I said, ma'am, I feel comfortable you will. She's like, well, what's your response? I'm like, I feel very comfortable I'll be able to get 12 people with 2 arms on the jury. And she got real quiet. I was like, lady, I'll try the case. Like,
right. You don't want any of this, man.
And she kept doing the whole, she's like, well, we can come up to 4. I'm like, we'll try the case.
Right.
Max us out or don't care. We'll try. And,
$6 million policy.
And what's happening, I think, is a lot of folks are taking the 1, 2, 3 and bragging. Mm-hmm. And I think they're leaving maximum value because people don't want to do the work.
And it's really it. Also, finding the coverage to work too, you know?
And no one wants to do that.
I mean, how many times are you going to call? It's like, there's $1 million.
Yeah.
And you're just like, think about how many times people just accept that.
Accept it. Woohoo!
$5 million policy sitting right behind it or something, you know?
We're very lucky. We got a associate Jack Furs, and he is the grinder on finding money. And I say, that's the true practice of law. I mean,
yes, it is.
And when he first started, we had that conversation. He's like, they've offered this. I'm like, there's a reason. Just go look. I'm telling you, there's a reason adjusters are offering quick money.
Absolutely.
There's no such thing as a quick settlement.
I want to talk about the Ricky Chow case. So I was watching the closing that you gave on the way down here. I think the most impactful thing you did, and it was so smart, was actually getting down on the ground and picking up that gun, and kneeling down and picking up that gun, because, you know, you're a great orator, but I've learned, as someone who likes to talk a lot too, is you got to show people too. You know, words can only have so much impact to certain people. And man, when you got up, and because it was so natural, you know, the way you got up, and it was just, it convinced me, even looking at it now that I think about it. I'm like, yeah, that's how that kid got up when he you know, dropped everything and got up to run. And man, I think that played a big role in that case.
And hopefully, if anyone's paying attention, so I've had so many, so blessed. We've gotten a lot of calls from law schools, former professors, like, can we use your closing argument to teach folks? But finally, one of them asked us, like, so how long did you work on your closing? And what's hilarious, if anybody knows me, I work on my closing 30 minutes of my rule. I like to work on it about 30 minutes beforehand. One, I hate using notes. I refuse to use a note. And the reason I like to work on a closing after the prosecutor goes is I find if you work on it too early, you don't pay attention. Two of the biggest things that people talk about is if you watch our closing argument, I mentioned something about cameras don't lie.
Oh, yeah.
But that was stolen right from the prosecutor.
Because that's what he said. So you just took that on the spot.
Like,
yeah.
You're going to eat that line real quick. And so the cameras don't lie. And the other thing about the gun in his hand, if you go back and watch the prosecutor's closing, he gave us that in the closing argument accidentally. So in his closing argument, and I don't think he meant to do it, and because he said something to the effect of maybe this 14-year-old dropped the gun and by nature he just happened to pick it back up. And that's when I'm just like, well, you just put the gun in his hand. And so that's where it went.
Right.
But you don't get that if you don't pay attention. You know, and I think that's one of the things that we have to learn is that you have to and it's not just from closing arguments, just from anything in the practice of law. You know, if you miss one small
detail, it can just kill you.
It's over.
Absolutely.
And so that's what happens with these.
You mentioned, you just kind of jogged my mind on something. One of the things that seemed like happened in that trial is they didn't tell the whole story. That was part of your closing.
100%, yes.
And I've always said, like, particularly in civil cases, you know, because we go first and we don't get a rebuttal in opening, right? So is it kind of reverse in criminal law, but as a plaintiff, you put your opening statement up, and then they go. And if you leave something out, a bad fact, they will. So anyway, it seems like that's a little bit what happened there.
It's and I love the prosecutors up there, like Byron Gibson, one of the greatest guys, greatest humans. Used to be a civil lawyer. That's how I knew him. Phenomenal trial lawyer. But I think sometimes we get so enamored with winning, especially at the prosecutors, they forget you better tell the whole story. For some reason, they tried to hide their bad facts. And you know, civil lawyer, you tell the bad facts or
you got to get ahead of them.
Get them out. Yeah. Social media has taught me, if anything, we all know this, people by far don't trust lawyers.
Right.
And so by nature, they don't trust lawyers. And so when they're in a courtroom watching these situations, and the second you show them they should not trust you, they tune out to your entire case. And I think that's what happened with the prosecution is they're like, we don't trust you. We don't like you. And if we don't trust you, we cannot listen to you. And that's civil, criminal, anything. Chris, I watched that jury. I don't think a lot of them wanted to vote not guilty. I really 100% of my heart believe that. And that's why the jury system is cool. Like I watched two of those young men and I could tell they were biting their lip because they didn't want to do it, but they knew they had to. And that's when the system works. What people don't understand is, so we are sitting there and the entire time, no lie, no exaggeration, because of the way that the public saw the case, we thought there was a real chance of a hung jury.
Sure.
And I thought there was a real chance of a hung jury. This entire time I was like, this jury is going to hang. Why? Because I cannot see 12 people listening and understanding, given all the firestorm. You can pick the juries all you want. You know they're hearing it. You know, all the rules that they made before about sequestering juries, that was before cell phones, apps, and so forth. So there's no way they could have avoided here in this case. We had what I believe were two really, really good jurors, and they both got kicked off. They both got sick. So then we're like, so the two jurors that we thought were,
your juries, yeah.
You know, you do jury studies, and you're
right.
Like, we've got two jurors, those are 200, and it just so happened both of them got bounced because they got sick during the middle of the trial, and I'm like, well, and I want to back up because there was one, and I'll get back to this because I don't want to lose my train of thought. When we got done picking the trial, Rick Chow looked crestfallen. He was just depressed, and I actually liked our jury. And what dawned on him that had not dawned on me is, when he picked the jury from the jury panel, from the jury pool, not a single Asian person was in the jury pool.
Right.
Not a single Asian person ended up on his jury. The judge was white. The prosecutors were white and black. We're all white and black. The news reporters were white and black. The people who hated him were black. Some of the folks were white. The people outside were black. And I watched him because he was the only Asian person in the courtroom. And I remember thinking, he was going through what black and brown folks did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Think about it. Like he's sitting there. He's like, I want a fair trial. And nobody in this courtroom
is like me.
No one's like me. And I'm counting on them giving me justice. And you could see he was just like,
I'm about to get screwed.
Yeah. And he was thinking, and no one's going to, and as much as he's got, everyone's like, oh, he picked a black lawyer. It's not like he was sitting there with confidence in this guy loves me. Like, you know what I mean? Like in his mind, he's got to be thinking, I'm done.
He hadn't seen you in court
yet. He hadn't seen me in court, had not seen anything. And these are trust relationships based upon somebody he's known for blank. And he's just like, this guy, everybody hates me. And I figured that had to be going through his mind. With the 40s, 50s, and 60s references, is you're now seeing black folks excoriated me. They went after me at the end of the trial because of like, how dare you represent Rick? And I was sitting there thinking, he is going through what people would have gone through. You know, it's a wild dichotomy on what he had to be going through.
Yes, I love it.
Like, that made me
absolutely
excited.
true.
So that made me happy with it.
Let's talk about the reaction. Because from what I understand, your life has been wild since this thing broke.
We got, Chris, probably 4 to 5 death threats a day at the office. A day.
What's wrong with people?
At the office. And the girls, and so, of course,
they're terrified.
They're terrified. And I told them, I was just like, look, it's going to turn. You know, people aren't understanding. Answer the phone. Be nice. Don't be mean. Do not respond. And I mean, just the nastiest commentary you would ever get. All because people were upset that he got representation, which is wild when you actually think about it.
No, it's insane to me. But
and so we would tell folks, it was like, and I remember I had a conversation with a very, very, very prominent black civil rights actor, and I don't want to get his name in, but I asked him because he's like, I can't believe you would sell yourself to represent that person. And I said, let me ask you a question. And this is a question I asked, and I'll ask everybody. I said, do you have any really, really good white friends? And I said it like this. And he's like, absolutely. Very indignant. He's like,
how dare you ask me that?
Absolutely.
Right.
Which means probably not. But he's like, absolutely. And I said, if one of your, and I was like, I want you to think of your dearest white friend. It's like, if they came to you and he says to you, somebody was going to kill my son. Now, you know this person's son. And he's like, yeah. And so I had to do it or he would die. It's like, what would you do? He's like, I was like, would you represent him? He's like, absolutely. I was like, because you take what he's saying is the truth. He's like, yeah. I was like, so you want me to believe that Rick is lying? He said, well, he is lying. I'm like, that's not how the law works.
Right. we did this way a trial to figure that out.
And so, and after we went back and forth, he finally started to understand. I'm like, this case to me had nothing about race. A person came into my office and said that 30-second story, which the evidence supported. As a criminal defense lawyer, we never get that.
I was going to say, that's you got a pretty good case.
It's actually very rare. And I'm just like, and so you want me not to take that case? And then I buffered that with the following. I said, and I told him he was being intellectually dishonest, Chris. And he's like, what do you mean? I just like, I've seen some of your posts and how you're very, very, very big on Carmelo Anthony's case. He's like, absolutely, that young man got screwed. And I'm just like, you can disagree with Rick Chow and agree with Carmelo. Or you can agree with Rick Chow and disagree with Carmelo, but you can't do both. He's like, I don't understand. I'm like, because they're both self-defense cases. And he's like, I don't get it. I was like, they're both actually self-defense cases, and Rick's case is actually a stronger case than Carmelo Anthony's case, because under Rick's theory, whether you believe him or not, the jury believed the truth that a kid was pointing a gun at his son and he thought he was going to die. And Carmelo's, like or don't like, he stabbed an unarmed man.
Right. It's a big difference to have a self-defense case with the victim with a gun. I mean, that matters.
And so that's why I said, so I was like, you're being very intellectually dishonest. And when he started thinking about it, he's like, I never thought about it like that. And then we went to the third part. I was like, have you made any complaints about Carmelo's lawyer? He's like, why would I do that? I'm like, well, you know, Carmelo is African-American. He's like, yes, sir. It's like, he's accused of killing a young white man. Yeah. And I was like, his lawyer's white. Do you have any problem with that? He's like, well, he had to get the bet and he caught himself. And I said, and that's the problem with the reality is when we, and not to turn this into a topic on race, but you know, one of the concerns I had was not through all the death threats, because I can deal with those, I've got those, is that we have gotten to the point where you cannot be a great lawyer if you don't look a specific way to a certain group of people. And that's what bothered me, is that hearing folks saying, well, you had to be brought in just because of the color of your skin, rather than doing any research. Like I said, that was my 200th trial, as you know.
Sure, right.
I have tried a lot of cases in the country, and I've won a lot of big cases. But the assumption is, well, the only reason you're brought into this one is black. I'm a good lawyer who happens to be black. You're a great lawyer who happens to be white. But one has nothing to do with the other. Like,
really does.
I mean, in car accident cases, nobody's ever come to me and said, oh my God, the person she hit was black. No one cared. Like I've never had somebody, how dare you represent that white woman who hit the black? Like, it's a car. But in this situation, everybody is made
just so racially charged.
And so for that week, Chris, like, we had SLED involved. We've had the FBI involved, hiding residents on the public index so folks can't find where we live.
Yeah.
People would go on social media and make just nasty posts about my wife, which I'm sort of like, you know, come at me, but
right. Wife?
Every thug on the planet knows family's off limits. And so you just got people coming after my wife and coming after stuff. And then the wildest thing happened. Sadly, Carmelo was found guilty and the world changed. the world all of a sudden changed. And then it went from, we want you to die, you stupid piece of crap, to, will you please represent him? Please go take care of him. We need you so bad. You're the voice that we need. I'm just like, but y'all, last week I was
The bad
John,
guy.
and now this week is sort of like, but that's what happens. And so someone asked me, am I happy with what has happened? I am, because I think the world is starting to understand what lawyers do.
Yes.
And they're starting to understand there is a role for the defense attorney. There's a role for the plaintiff's lawyer. There's a role for the criminal defense. Like, this is what we do. And I always say, without pride or prejudice, we represent humanity.
Yes.
I made a choice to represent a person who needed representation. And I think had we not represented him, he would have been found guilty? Yeah, I think there's a real chance of that. And so that's why I sleep well at night. I'm fine with what I've done. I sleep on a big old bag of money. I'm comfortable. People get mad at it. I don't care, but I do believe, I will never say that I 100% believe a client, because I think someone's stupid when they say that. Do I believe that Rick believed what he did was in the right interest? Absolutely.
Sure.
I wasn't there. So I hate when lawyers like, I know I wasn't there. But do I believe that he believed what he did was absolutely necessary? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I think this is something that should be studied, the back-to-back? It just so happens that Rick Chow and Carmelo back-to-back. I have mistakenly thought that we were doing so much better in race relations, and we are not. Like, this trial has shown me anything that we are not doing better. Chris, we were the number one trending topic on TikTok the Tuesday after the verdict, and not in a good way. like it wasn't like, hey, who's Shaun Kent? It was who's Shaun Kent. Like, it was not in a
Let's
good
find
way.
him.
It was not in a good way. But then the week after, it switched, and it was
totally positive.
Overwhelming. Like, the positivity, like, if you were to go to our social media page, the positivity is ridiculous. And so that's why I'm like, that's why you can't care about it. Like, if people like me, great. If people hate me, great. I'm going to be fine either way. What did Dion say? You didn't make me, you can't break me. So I don't give a damn what people think about me.
I do agree with you that this is the modern way of how we're going to educate the public on what we do. It's got to be this way, because, my favorite book as a kid and always really is To Kill a Mockingbird, right? Yeah. But that's an old book, and it's really, you know what I mean? Like, people, young people, they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Yeah. They don't understand. And it's exactly that same principle of, you stand up for what's right, not what's popular.
Whether you like it or not. What I'm loving is the young law students that we're getting messages from. Like, my closing argument, to me, like, good, bad, or otherwise, is all over the world now.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It's crazy.
No problem finding it on YouTube.
You can, it's all over and I'm getting lawyers, law professors, young black kids, white kids are just like, oh, I saw you. I didn't know that's what lawyers could do in a courtroom. Like, I thought you guys were all boring blank. And you can have my boy Damon. I've always been this crazy. Like, I will try, like, this is.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And lawyers, I think we have a bad rep on what lawyers are supposed to do in courtrooms. And I like the fact that people are watching that and is like, I didn't know you could do that.
Exactly.
And I love
that's perfect. And that's exactly what I said when I saw the first clip I saw was like a 4-minute thing. And I texted Patrick McLaughlin and I was like, I need to get the whole thing. I want the whole thing. And he was like, dude, it'll be on YouTube. Like, it already is. I couldn't agree with you more, man, because I think that closing argument, Shaun, the great it'll do, obviously it did great things for Ricky Chow, but what it'll do for our profession is it will show it's capable.
Yeah, we are
of happening in a courtroom.
We are so blessed to have the ability to convince, to sit down and talk. And that's why I'm big on no notes, because sometimes we forget just to sit down and talk to somebody and just have eye contact. And to me, 12 folks, and people keep getting it wrong. I've got, he convinced 12 Asians. I'm like, first of all, where are you going to find 12 Asians in Columbia, South Carolina?
Right.
But 12 people in a jury, 12 strangers, don't know each other, have to live in that community, having to hear all the negative, everything bad. And for that 31 minutes of the closing argument, they were listening to me. Little black poor kid from Summerville, South Carolina. They're listening to me, and we're just having a talk. And it was so cool. And I think if someone's asked me what the practice of law is, it's that 31 minutes. Being able to talk to 12 people. Someone said, you tried to get them. Like, no, I just tried to get them to listen. Yeah. That's it. Just listen to that. Just listen. And that's what they end up, when we talk to them later, that's what they said they did. They listened, and some of them were just like, huh. And you could see that moment on some of their faces when they're just moment. Like, I never thought about that. And I wish we could get that way with social media. And that's why we take a lot of calls. Like, my office thinks I'm crazy. Like, they're like, line 2 is somebody who thinks your wants to kill you. I'm like, put them through. It's like a baby. Once they cry themselves to sleep, I'm like, do you want to talk now? And then I'll tell them the case, and it's always the same, Chris. I was like, well, did you watch it? No. So why do you hate me so much? TikTok said I should. Oh, okay. Well, you can't argue with that logic. You want to kill me over TikTok? Well, hello.
Here's our address. Come on by.
Come on now. So yeah, it has gotten much better. I mean, the death threats were.
That's scary.
Some of them, it's one of those ones. If you get 100 death threats, 90 of them are stupid. Like, I'm not worried about a guy in Minot, North Dakota saying, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, good luck finding me. But then you get a little bit worried when you're just like a guy that's like, hey, man, I'm in Manning. I'm like, oh.
I'm here on the corner.
Manning, where? What's my car look like? Those are the ones you get a little bit.
Right.
And I mean, I've represented gangbangers and stuff of that nature. You know the ones that are like, this guy means the shit he's saying. I said the one guy, like, he literally... sent some like really, really scary messages, threatening, like illegal messages.
Sure.
And then he called me up. He's like, I'm the one who's threatened to kill you and so forth. And my response to him was, and he calmed down. I was like, hey man, if you do end up killing me, I hope you get a good lawyer. And he calmed down immediately. He's just like, what the hell? I'm just like, I'm just saying, I just believe that everyone deserves representation.
Even if you kill me,
if you succeed, I hope you get one, but good luck to you. And so he calmed down. This isn't bullshit. I really do believe in the Constitution. And I think that's crazy, but I just believe in the Constitution. And I believe that if we were to listen to all the people who hate Rick Chow, and there are a bunch, and there was a bunch of folks who say he did not deserve a fair trial, he should have,
just hanging on the courthouse steps.
Where next?
Right.
And it's just, we're going to be revisiting history, and then all of what's going to happen is prosecutors are going to be like, well, remember Rick, he didn't deserve a fair trial, neither do you. And it's wild that people do not see that dichotomy, and there's nothing I can do to convince them.
Better 100 guilty men go free than one innocent man.
Period. And for all the anger, I mean, I keep saying it, when you break down Rick Chow's case, it's 30 seconds. A guy was pointing a gun at my son. I thought he was going to kill him, so I shot him. That's his case.
Right.
I mean, it's
not complicated.
It's not complicated, and turn down all the other noise, like a drum line, one band, one sound. Turn down the noise. You got one thing going on, and that's what I wanted them to hear, and it worked.
Man, you did a great job. Thank you for doing this, Shaun.
I appreciate you.
So we were talking about brand, and when I first started, and I did that same kind of law where people would pay me like $25 and a possum in a cage, whatever it was. The only cool thing I came up with is I had these shirts, and it was like Pratt Law, and it put "Do not arrest this person" on it. So we've kind of stuck with that. And
see, I love this.
You the hat, man.
That's
"Do
cool.
not arrest this person" hat.
I would put it on, but my wave has been perfect.
No, yeah, look,
so I'm like, the do-rag has been on. I love this. Do not arrest this person. And I love this on the back. See, to me, like, that's cool branding.
Yeah, man. 864law.com is our area code, man. The home state. You go by Superman Shaun Kent. We've got the amazing Superman up here. Who is your favorite Superman character? Actor playing Superman.
Such a great question, because I am a big superhero fan. I think the only good Superman that had ever been is Christopher Reeve. Classic. And the reason, and it's there's a couple of reasons I love superheroes, but one, I remember one of my clients once sent me a letter. Is like, I believe in superheroes now, and I've always loved that.
Yes.
I like Christopher Reeve the best, because the mythos that people get mistaken with Superman is they think that Superman is all powerful, but what makes Superman is it's actually Clark Kent. So the person who can play the normal man, who can be the normal person, who can take care of the little guy is Clark Kent. And I always thought that Christopher Reeve played him better. The other guys play Superman as this big, beefy, muscular character.
Right.
That's not Superman. Superman is Clark Kent, John Q. Public, who is there amongst everybody else and doing the things of the little guy. That's why I've always liked Christopher Reeve, because I thought he embodied who Clark Kent was better than any other Superman character.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Practical Law. It was amazing to sit down with the Superman, Shaun Kent, talked about all things law, building your trial skills, talked about the Rick Chow case, which is top of the headlines these days. And so we're just grateful for Shaun and giving us his time. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Practical Law Podcast.
Still waiting on the mistake, aren't you? They don't have it.